Cool. Welcome everyone. My name's Hayden. I work at the University of Newcastle in the IT department. Essentially, I'm just here to give you a bit of a rundown on Microsoft Teams, OneNote, Planner, those kinds of software and how we can use them and they work with each other. So it's going to be a bit of a presentation and I'm going to jump into a bit of a demonstration and we're going to upload this video to YouTube for everyone to watch at a later date as well. So I'd just like to start by acknowledging the Awabakal people who are the traditional custodians of where I am today. I'd like to acknowledge elders, past, present, and future. I would also like to acknowledge the Wamurai people to the north, the Wonnarua people to the west, and the Dark and Young people to the south, as it's through sharing in our communities that our local Indigenous people continue to thrive. I would also like to extend that acknowledgement to the homelands of all people who join us today. So for today's demonstration, we're going to go through Microsoft Office 365, including setting up Teams to collaborate, store, and share, using Planner to keep track of tasks, assign and view status of other tasks, and using OneNote to store notes, linking Planner and OneNote to Teams for easy collaboration. So we'll start out with Microsoft Teams. This lets you collaborate with fellow staff and students. You can work from anywhere on any device. All you need is an internet connection. You can book meetings through Teams, share files, and work on the same document at the same time. We call that co-authoring, which we'll delve into a little bit later. It doesn't share any of your personal information, and you can set up and track tasks with Planner all integrated into this. With the demonstration, I'm probably just go through the slides and then I'll come back to it at the very end. But in the demonstration, what we'll do is go through how to access Teams, how to create a Teams channel, how to add and edit user permissions, setting up permissions for channels, how to create files, sending them with certain permissions, co-authoring, how to chat, and how to make video calls. Actually, what I might do is I'll just keep switching my screen share just to go back and forth between these. So I'll switch this over to Teams here. Now, the first off is how to access Teams. So you do need to sign in with your university account. Once you've signed in, you just open up the Microsoft Teams application, or if you sign into any other Microsoft app, it'll sign you into all of them using Okta. But what you can do is you can sign into one and then you'll be able to see the Teams home screen. So on the left-hand side, you'll have activity, chat, Teams, things like that. The chat is a where you can just go to converse with people. You can have a one-on-one or group chats in that feature there. The team side is where you can actually create a Teams channel and work with people collaboratively. So that's what I've done on the side here. I've got my my Teams channel, which is called Tato Sandpit. This is where I do all my testing. So if I wanted to create a new team, what I can do is I can scroll to the bottom. Just get rid of this, sorry. Scroll to the bottom and go join or create team. Now you're prompted with a few different options here. If you do see teams that are already here, these are ones that are created by other people and are completely public. So you can join teams that are public by anyone else at the university or any other students that have created them, depending on which sort of tenant you're in. But if you want to create your own, you click on create team. You're then given a few options here of what sort of team type you want. You can have a class, which is if you're, wanting to run it as sort of like a teacher, learning committee, staff, or other. Usually I always just go other because it's kind of like a blank template to work from. So if we select other, you're then prompted with what do you want your team to be called? You can just call it test. A description of what your team's about. So if it is going to be a public team, you want to put in a bit of a description about what the actual team is. The sensitivity, you can read through these. Essentially, it's just how secure is the information. So if it's public, then anyone can see it. We've got restricted, highly restricted, and X in confidence. They're only available during private, but I'm not going to set any of those now. Down the bottom, you can also create a team using an existing team as a template. So you can essentially copy one team to another. You can also create a team using a group set by the University of Newcastle. So if you've been added to a SharePoint site or if you've asked for a SharePoint site and you wanted to create an Office 365 group with that, that also links to Teams as well. I'm not going to create this test team, so I'm just going to work out of my sandpit, but that's the process of creating it. So once you've created it, you'll see on the left-hand side, it'll appear. I've got quite a few teams here. I'll just minimize these so we're only working out of the one. You can see it can get quite cluttered the more you have. But Hato Stampede is the one we're working on. So every team's channel has a general section, and this is where most of your notes are going to be stored. So if I open general, this is where we can converse with the entire team. You can mention people, you can post new conversations, you can reply to other ones, and also like and comment on other conversations as well. Up the top, you'll see there are files. If you click on that, it will show you every file that exists within the general tab of Teams. So essentially, any documents that are made through here, or if you save them into here, then anyone else can access them as well from the team. It's a great way to collaborate between them. But if you want to add people to your team from here, what you want to do is on the left-hand side where you see general, the 3 dots, click on that, go manage channel. Oh, apologies, no, you got to do it from the top side here. We want to go up here and then add a member to the team. You can also go manage team and adjust it as well. But if we go add a member, you just start typing in someone's name and then you can invite them into the team. If you've already added people in, you can go manage team and you can adjust people's permissions as well. So there are 3 different permission sets. There's owners, who are going to be the owners of the team, which is myself. Members, which are people who have member access to it. So they're a part of the university, but not owners. And then you can have guests as well, which are people that don't belong to the University of Newcastle. They can still be added to the team, but they do have restricted permissions. They can't do as much. Cool. So if we wanted to go through and create some files, there's a few different ways we can do it, but the easiest way is to come to Microsoft Teams, go to your files section, and you'll see the list of folders and files that you've got. From here up the top, you just click on new. You've got 4 options. You've got your folder, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. And clicking on this, it'll just ask you to make a document, whatever you want to call it. So clubs. Create the document, and you'll notice what it does is it actually opens this document within Microsoft Teams. So I can still navigate to my Teams chats if I wanted to. But this is the document here. Anything that you open, you can open within Teams and work from it. It does have limited functionality. You don't get as much out of it as you would with the desktop app. But up the top, you'll see there is an option to open it in the desktop app. And what that does is it just pops up the Word document in the desktop app. And then you can type whatever you wanted to. It does auto saves, and you can go ahead and close it, and it'll auto save, and anyone else can then access it. With co-authoring, essentially 2 people open the same document at the same time. I can't demonstrate that because I'm the only person with this at the moment. But if someone else was to have that, you'll be able to see where they are in the document, all the changes they make, and it'll be highlighted in a different color. So if I wanted to then share this document with someone else, there's a few different ways I can do it. You can do it from opening. There is also the share option through that. So if I click on the document, copy link. So I've copied this link here. I can then send this to anyone and they can then go out and see this document and have access to it. Another option that I can do is if I close this, click on the 3 dots here, copy this link as well. So the way that my Stampede is set up, that you only have access to be able to copy the link and share with people who already have access. However, if you've got new and existing people can do it, then you'll have a share option, which we'll go through later in the slides, but you can actually share and choose what kind of permissions you want to send that to. You can give someone read-only access, that way they can't actually change anything. What they'll do is they can write on the document, but then send it back to you, and then you have to review it before it makes those changes. Cool. So the chat feature, like I mentioned earlier, you can chat through this section here just by clicking on new conversation. This is a message that goes out to the entire team. Anyone who's joined it, they'll be able to see it. If you wanted to chat with someone personally or one-on-one, click on the chat option at the top here. If I click on this, I've got a lot of my conversations on the left here closed, just pinned, so we can't see them. But whoever I want to talk to, I can click up the top here and just start typing. click on this person, and then I'll be able to send a message directly to them. If you need to send a message to multiple people, you can then just start typing more names and it creates a group, and then you can message the entire group. And it's a collaborative way of working with your team. And finally, if you wanted to make a video call or schedule a planned meeting with the team, you go back to the general section of your site or your channel. You can click on Meet, and what this will do is this will start an impromptu meeting straight away. The alternative is you can click the drop-down option and you can schedule a meeting. And what that does is it pops up with a window showing you a couple of options for scheduling. So you choose the time zone. Obviously, it'd just be the same if you're in Newcastle. Add a title, required attendees. If you don't specify anyone's required, they don't need to be there. They don't have to join. But you can say required and they'll be notified of this as well. There's also an option to register if you wanted to. So people that are guests, you can get them to register for the meeting as well, or if the link gets shared out with someone else. And then the rest of it is just your normal meeting booking. So it just goes through these options. And then when you do hit send, they'll be sent an email saying we're requesting you to join a team meeting later on. Cool, and that's just a quick run through of how to use Microsoft Teams. I might just jump back into the PowerPoint here. And we'll move on. So sharing files from Teams and OneDrive. There's a few different ways that you can share files out. The first way is sending the link that I sent you before. The other thing is if you're working through OneDrive as well, you do actually have the option to sync your entire Teams library with your OneDrive library. So I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But essentially, you can add members to your team if you want them to have access to everything, or you can just share out specific documents with certain people. Cool. With the latest Office suite, you can share your Teams and OneDrive straight through the Microsoft app, which we did go through earlier. This is what it looks like when you have access to share with anyone. So my site was probably a bad example of it because you can only copy the link. But if you do hit the share option within Microsoft Word or anything like that, you can share it out like this, which essentially anyone with this link is already going to be grayed out, because as at the university, we don't allow this, because if anything was to be shared out publicly, anyone can access it. So we don't actually have that option available. People in the university with the link, so anyone who has an at Newcastle, or if you're a student at UON address, people with existing access, and specific people. You can also turn off editing if you want, and you can also have review mode only, which means they can't actually change anything. They can type whatever they wanted to, and then if they submit that back to you, you need to approve it beforehand. Cool. So to do this in Teams or OneDrive, you need to open it in the desktop app and then click share. Share files with anyone in the world and grant whatever access you want. So by Teams, the default, you can share with anyone in the world, but if they, you need to specify who they are. It can't just be send the link out to an email blast and let everyone click on it. Cool. And finally, there's version control. So each time a document is edited, it creates a new version. So if you are working on the same document as someone else, there's going to be a lot of versions to go through, but everything is logged. It has up to about 500 versions that you can go back on. So you can see the history of a file, and if there are any unwanted changes, you can revert them back to what it was like previously. It's the most useful thing for shared files with most people working in a collaborative state. You can see what everyone else has done and revert those changes quite easily. Managing access is very similar to sharing it out. Once you share out a file, it will then have a list of the people you've shared it with. This link works for example. So this screenshot is a document that was shared with myself, and you can see that this is shared with me. My access can be removed at any time. So, and it can also be switched from view only to edit and vice versa. With manage access, you can also delete and update sharing links. So you can change the users that are shared with to remove that direct access. Cool. Tracking changes on a document with co-authoring is quite helpful. So you can turn on track changes on a Word document and it makes edits easily visible. So if anyone does change anything, you can track the changes that it does. If someone was to replace a word, it will cross out the word that it replaced and sort of put it just after it. Once you approve all the changes, they will then be, the track changes will be removed and you can see the ones that are actually there. You can right click the colored text to accept or reject those changes as well. With shared documents, there are also comments that you can use. So if you were to share a document out with someone, essentially they can, if they've got read only, they can add a comment to it. Or if, you know, they do have edit access, they can still comment if they wanted to. The screenshots here just show some examples of myself and a colleague that have gone back and forth with some comments. You'll be notified if you do receive a comment. You can see you can mention someone. Essentially what you can do then is have a communication to the side of the document back and forth and resolve that comment when you're done. So users with access to the documents can add these, reply to them, and resolve them. Cool. So that's a bit of Microsoft Teams work. I am going to jump back into Teams, OneNote, and Planner at the end, just to give you a bit of a run through of all this stuff, but we'll just go to OneNote. I'm sure you've all had some experience with OneNote at one point or another. Essentially, it's great to easily take and organize notes in like a free-form style. You can move any of your notes throughout the notebook and throughout the page on the notebook quite easily. Copy paste from anywhere. There's powerful search features from within. The best way I see it for students is to create a book for each semester, a section for each course, and then a page for each lecture or topic within that. So pretty much the best way to access it is just to open Microsoft OneNote. You should have it installed through Office 365. The demonstration we're going to go through, let me just switch my screen again. I think I've got it open here. So I'll show you how to access it through Teams. Actually, that might be the easiest way. So if I was to go share my Teams screen again, if I wanted to add a OneNote to my Teams site, you click up the top here. Once you're in the general section, you go to the plus. It's a bunch of different stuff you can add here. You can add, you know, new words, SharePoint sites, anything like that. You'll see there's also a OneNote option as well. If I click on this, I'm prompted with two options. I can create a new blank notebook, or I can link an existing one from another chat. I'm just going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it clubs. How's that? You'll see down the bottom it says post this in the chat. That will be posted in the general chat saying, hey, I've just created this new chat, or this new notebook, sorry. And again, it will open in Microsoft Teams as well. So there's two options. You can then open in browser, or you can open in the desktop app. I'm just going to work out of this for a little bit. But that's how you can create a brand new OneNote and share it with the rest of the team. The search feature, there's just a little magnifying glass. It's the universal search icon. You can search for words within any section or page. It's quite easy to search. You can search specifically for words. You can also wildcard it, which means if you put a little star at the end of it, it will search for anything containing that. And breaking it down to section or page is quite helpful as well. So you don't need to search through the entire section if you know which page it's on. So for example, what we would do is we would make a new section, or we would rename it. So we go new. Let's just say this would be course 1. And then within this, I can make a new page and I could call this lecture 1. So now for my note taking, anything that I take in here, notes from lecture, I can move this around anywhere that I wanted to on the page. This is what we call freeform note taking. So I don't necessarily need to have it in a Word format where everything's sort of blocked by borders. I can essentially move this wherever I wanted to. And if I click over here and start taking notes again, it does create a second window where I can move that. It's really helpful for going through and organizing your notes afterwards, or even if you like to do it during. You can just move everything around. It kind of treats as like its own text box, and you can move it like an image from throughout. Cool. It's pretty self-explanatory beyond that. If you do have access to multiple OneNotes and you're not working out of Microsoft Teams, if you were to open this in browser or desktop, for example, up the top here where it says Clubs Prezo, you can click on that and you'll be able to see different notebooks that you have access to if you are working on multiple. Cool. Alrighty, we'll just jump back into the presentation. Apologies for the back and forth. It's just easier to explain things while I'm mid through the presentation. Cool. And Planner. Planner is another great tool for organizing your teamwork and also for your individual work as well. So it's a scheduling system essentially, and it's a way to manage all of your tasks in a single location. And you can also share them out through that one location as well. So first of all, how to access it. It's a Microsoft 365 app. You can go through the office.com and you'll see planners listed there. You can also access it through Teams as well. And I'll show you the exact same thing we just did for OneNote. We're going to do that with Planner. So I will switch back over to Microsoft Teams. I've already created one as an example. So Planner for testing. But again, all I did was I clicked on the plus up the top, went to OneNote, went to Planner, tasks up by Planner, and it gives you the same options. You can create a new one or you can choose existing ones. And you've got a few different options here, so you can add them there. Now, again, you can work from Teams if you wanted to, or you can also work from Microsoft Planner. The best way that I would sort of explain or work through Planner for individuals is have something like a to-do list of all your assignments, something that you've started on, something you've then reviewing and then completed. So for example, here I've got assignment 1 due on the 30th of August. It's assigned to me. What I can do is I can move this across to say, yes, I've started this. And essentially, it's just a great way to see we call these buckets. We can see what's sitting where on our timeline kind of thing. So how much work do we need to do to certain things? If I wanted to make a new one, I can make it at any of these buckets. I'd always kind of do what it's to do because there's no point in making a completed task if it's already completed. But if I click on add task, you can enter a task name, set a due date. And if you wanted to, you could assign this to anyone in your team, or you can just assign it to yourself. Assign this to myself, and then add the task. Now, when you do create a new task, you are only given those 3 options of name, date, and who you want to assign it to. But you can edit those tasks afterwards. You double click on the actual task itself. You're then given a lot more options in terms of what you can do with it. So you can add a label to this. If you wanted to add a label, you can change the wording of this. We can say this is looking into it, and we can mark that label as someone's looking into it. We haven't actually started on it yet. If we were to label like that, it's a bunch of different labels you can choose, all different colors. You can always edit the text on them. You can choose which bucket it is in from here as well, and that will just move it across the buckets. The progress, 3 different options there, and the priority of it. You can have a start date if you wanted to. I personally don't use this. I just like to work off due dates to see when it needs to be done by. Any notes that you want to take on the actual work itself. And you can also add in a checklist item as well. So one of my checklist options can be call team. And you'll see it appears as like a little option underneath assignment 3. As I mark that off, I can click on it and it'll say that it's done. You can also add attachments to it. So if you wanted to link any files to this, so, I can set a task for my team and say, hey, work on this. I can link the attachment to it and then add comments as well. So it's very simple to be able to create, move through, assign, any of that sort of stuff. When you are going to add an attachment, you can go from your computer, from Teams files, or a link to a URL. So you can add those 3 options there. It automatically detects what team you're in, so you can see from the team's files. It'll be anything that exists in our general files up the top. The other thing we can do is you can change the view. So we've got board view. We can switch it to list, which if you've got quite a few tasks, this might be an easy way to look at it. It'll still tell you what bucket it's in, its due date, priority, assigned, and the title. We've also got charts, which this is quite bland at the moment because we've only got a few tasks in there. But you'll see what's not started, what's in progress, what's late, what's completed. If I was to go back, for example, to board, switch this to in progress, and then go to charts, you'll see it's then changed the reporting through the charts option. So you see 3 tasks left, 1 in progress, 2 not started. I can also see at the bottom who they're assigned to. So if I was to go ahead and move from here, let's say we assign this to myself and another account, go back to charts to be able to see that they are as well. You can assign the same task to multiple people if you wanted them to work on it collaboratively. And then finally, you've got the schedule option, which gives you a calendar view of both monthly or weekly if you want to switch it, where you can see all of the tasks that are due within that. Greatest thing about this that I always use is I can move the due date. So if anything needs to be pushed back a little bit, you can go ahead and just drag and drop and move this across, and it'll move the due date of that assignment or that task. You can also add tasks through this as well. So it's up to you how you want to kind of work through Planner. I preferably just use the board so I can see all of my buckets and what's here, but some people like to work from schedule a little bit more. And finally on that, what we can do is you can create a new bucket if you wanted to. You just click on the add new bucket up the top right here. Type in what you want, and then you add that in. So you can have as many buckets as you need to. It does make it a bit more cramped, but it's a great way to track progress throughout. And that is essentially Microsoft Planner. So we'll move on to the last few slides. Sorry, I will have to screen share this again. Cool. Zoom, I'm sure we're all across Zoom, especially within the current environment. You can have conversations while sharing documents in real time. As you can see, I've been doing that for this entire presentation. One-click meetings, you can meet with anyone, anywhere, and you can share your screen with ease. I'm working off my personal computer, so I was going back and forth between a bunch of different pages that were open on my screen. I can share my entire screen if I wanted to. And you can also, schedule a meeting and have a recurring meeting through that. And finally, if you're working off university devices, we are protected with Sophos antivirus. It protects against any kind of viruses, malware, trojans, worms, bots, and any kind of unwanted apps. So it's always good to be secure, especially working from home. So you can get access to Sophos if you needed to. We do have a questions option here. So Jessica, I might just see if you have any questions. And Charlie, you've joined as well. Does anyone have any questions, or is there anything you want me to go through additionally? No, it looks like we're all good. So what I might actually just quickly touch on is opening the documents from within the desktop version and how to share them out through that. So what I can do, I'll share my screen again. I've opened from Microsoft Teams. I went to that same Word document that I opened before, and I went into open it with Microsoft Desktop app instead. Now, essentially what that's going to let me do is I'll share this screen for you here. So if I wanted to share this out, what I can do is click up the top right, go to the share option, and it gives me these options here to be able to choose who I want to share it with. So people you specify can edit. So I just type in the names individually. I click on this option here. I have those other ones that we saw before. So existing access or anyone with the University of Newcastle email address. I'm going to go specific people. I want them to edit and I don't want to be able to review it. I go apply and I start typing their name. I'm just going to go test@com. It'll let you know that they are outside of your organization, but that's okay. If you've got external sharing turned on, you'll be able to send to those. Just contact IT if you do have any issues with that. You can send a message and then go send, and this just sends them an email directly saying, hey, this has been shared with you. Click this link to access it. If you wanted to share this with someone, let's say you've got them on Microsoft Teams or they're not a part of your team, you can just click on the copy link and paste that directly to them. There is also an Outlook feature. I don't use it because essentially any message you type here and go send uses Outlook anyway. So it's not really worth doing it, but if you prefer to work from Outlook, you can also do that as well. And that's just a quick look at sharing it out. You can see that there's a highlighted section here because I have this document open in 2 different locations. I've got it in my desktop and my Teams. This is what it looks like with co-authoring. I'll be able to see where that actual person is in the document and whatever changes they're making in real time. Cool, cool, cool. All right, Jessica, are you still on the call?
I sure am.
Awesome. I might just stop the share. Do you have any other questions, anything you want me to run through?
No, I think that was really fantastic. And I think it's a really good way for students to also, you know, learn how to use time management and everything like that as well, and communicate properly. Communication can be a bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I studied at the University of Newcastle a few years back, and I definitely knew time management was one of the hardest things for me. And I didn't know anything that like this existed. I wasn't using Planner myself, so
yeah,
it's definitely something to get on top of.
Absolutely,
if you know it's there.
Definitely. Yeah, Charlie, if you have anything you want to add, you can jump on in. But if not, then I guess we'll just wrap it up here. And we'll upload this. Thanks, Charlie. We'll upload this onto our YouTube channel.
Cool. Not a problem. Thank you for coming, Charlie. And for those watching, please feel free to reach out to IT if you have any questions.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Hayden.
Bye.
Bye.